Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. I wish I had a good story for you today. I have a story all right, but it's not good. On August 29th, as you may or may not know, Michael Reinoehl shot and killed Aaron Danielson when Black Lives Matter protesters clashed with pro-police Trump supporters in Portland, Oregon. The Trump supporters were riding through town. They were shooting paint guns at Black Lives Matter protesters. They were hitting them with all kinds of things, throwing all kinds of things at them, shooting them with pepper spray and so forth. And the police just basically allowed it. So Reinoehl was an ardent supporter of BLM, and Danielson was a member of the far-right militia group Patriot Prayer, who also is pro-police, pro-Trump. Well, about 1 week after the murder, Reinoehl spoke on the record in an interview with Vice News. Now, much like Kyle Rittenhouse, who murdered people in Wisconsin, Reinoehl told Vice reporters that he and his friends were in danger and that he shot Danielson in self-defense. He said that he believed he and his friend were going to be killed, and so that's why he shot the man. Unlike Rittenhouse, however, President Donald Trump publicly demanded that Reinoehl be arrested immediately. So as soon as I heard that, as soon as Trump started posting tweets about Reinoehl and got involved on that micro level with this incident, that's when I knew that Reinoehl would not be taken into custody alive. I knew it, I said it to myself, and I was right. So on September 3rd, cops surrounded and murdered Michael Reinoehl, and it was basically an execution. They basically ambushed him and executed him. Now, at first, the killing appeared to be legitimate, although cops have been very tight-lipped. They've been almost evasive about the details of the shooting. But two witnesses allegedly told the Olympian news outlet that Reinoehl fired at the officers first. So people believed, okay, if he fired first, this is legitimate. They had no choice. They fired back. Well, now a new witness has come forward. A witness named Nate Dingus has a completely different account of what took place. He was an eyewitness, and he alleges that Reinoehl never reached for his weapon because he was found with a weapon on him. But funny how cops have refused to talk about that weapon, and I'll get to that in a minute. So Nate Dingus claims that Reinoehl had his cell phone in one hand and he was eating a gummy worm with the other hand. So unless he's an alien or he had some sort of mutation and he had a third hand and a third arm that no one has yet to mention about him, it would be impossible for him to have fired at the cops first. According to Dingus, who, by the way, is an ordained minister, has been an ordained minister for 19 years. So not really the kind of person who would be lying typically, or if he is, he knows it's a sin. He resides in the building. Dingus resides in the building where Reinoehl was hiding out. And so he walked out of that building where Dingus was at, and officers pulled up, and like I said, they basically ambushed and executed him. So Dingus watched as two unmarked vehicles pulled up, officers got out, and as he explained, they began firing in rapid succession at Reinoehl. He also claims that they failed to announce who they were and that they made absolutely no attempt to arrest him before they opened fire. Now, what makes his account incredibly believable, and this is what I alluded to a minute ago, is that the sheriff's office that's leading this investigation has so far refused to say whether Reinoehl's weapon had been fired or if he had even removed it from his pocket or wherever he had it. If he had in fact fired first, they would have said so. It would have been the top line of their statement to the media. But yet they have said not one word. And Dingus also said that when Reinoehl heard the gunfire, he ducked behind his car, but never attempted to get inside of the car. So that's also in direct conflict. It directly conflicts what the officer's account is of what took place, because they said that he tried to get in his vehicle. Which, why would he even bother to do that? Because the two cop cars had him pinned in, according to all accounts. They came at him from two different angles and pinned in his vehicle. In addition, Dingus alleges that the cops made, quote, no attempt to render life-saving aid until multiple minutes following the shooting. And here's the other thing. Where's the camera footage? Where's the camera footage from their body cams or their cop cars? How convenient that there's no video evidence of how this all went down. As I said in the beginning, I knew this was going to happen. I wouldn't doubt if Trump himself gave the order to shoot on sight. He and the cops had to make an example out of a Black Lives Matter protester and to try and instill fear in future protesters. They have to put it down. They have to put this movement down. They have to literally and metaphorically put their boots and their knees on our necks. This is Trump's MO, instilling fear, using fear tactics. And Reinoehl, unfortunately, gave them the perfect target. Because if they shoot and kill a random protester, absolutely there will be a civil war. They know that. But because Reinoehl murdered someone, even if it was in self-defense, they can use that. They can try to obfuscate the facts. They can make it appear as though Reinoehl was the aggressor with the cops. What they didn't count on was the fact that someone was watching from inside the building. And he was close enough to the scene. He was close enough to all the action and what was going down to see that Reinoehl was eating a gummy worm. That's how close he was. But Mr. Dingus is now afraid for his own safety. So his attorney, a man named Luke Laughlin, gave this partial statement, quote, we are very concerned for our client's safety for speaking out both from the fascist right and retaliation by law enforcement. What a sick, disturbing state of affairs we find ourselves in here in the United States. We now have cops teaming up, and this is not the first time. We saw this in Wisconsin as well. We saw it on video when the cops were handing out water to alt-right militia members who were there with guns terrorizing protesters, telling them, we really appreciate you guys. So we have cops teaming up with alt-right militia members who, by the way, are allowed to violently attack and terrorize members of society with complete impunity. We also saw that last weekend. We saw that in videos in Oregon when they pretended to arrest right-wing militia members who had attacked and were beating a Black Lives Matter protester. But then video later, a few minutes later, showed them buddying up with the militia members, taking off their handcuffs, basically letting them know that they can do whatever the hell they want. They let them go. Never even put them in the cop car. It is so obvious what's going on in this country. Our country has officially descended into fascism. We now have Trump and law enforcement acting like a third world country. They are now executing extrajudicial killings like they do in countries like the Philippines and South Korea. But of course we do. When you have Trump praising brutal dictators like Duterte, Kim Jong-un, Putin, what did we expect would happen here in the United States? We have a wannabe gangster and faux dictator in the White House. This was inevitable. This was the inevitable conclusion to his fascination and love for fascist leaders. And I, for one, I am pissed off beyond belief that once again, I have to vote for the lesser evil because our so-called leaders on both sides of the aisle have completely failed us. Until we get true leadership, until we get people in positions of power who aren't on the take, who don't play these games, pretend to be the resistance, when they are doing some of the same shit that they're pointing the finger at, this isn't going to change. You have to have people with the moral authority in charge so that they can stand up and point out all of the illegal stuff that Trump is doing. I do not want to vote for Joe Biden, but I have to because I don't want to see cops running around as Trump's little personal army killing people who oppose them because he's giving them the green light. It's so screwed up. This is such a screwed up election, country, government. Oh my God. Oh my God, we need reform. This is why we need a movement for a People's Party. This is why we need that new major party that is going to work for, of, and by the people. So I hope you guys will all join me in supporting them. All right, guys, as always, like, share, subscribe. When I hear more on this, I will let you know because I'm sure this is not going to go away quietly. I, for one, won't let it. All right, take care of yourselves. Thanks for listening to Plants and Politics. The only way we can take our country and power back is to spread the truth and build an army. So remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again.